Deep in the universe, on an abandoned planet where no plants grow, countless black monsters are surging towards a mountain like a tide. Come on, evil dog, today is the day you and I will be buried. At the top of the mountain, a burly figure, shirtless and disheveled. Wielding a battle axe, he roars in battle against the incoming monsters. Once upon a time, he once wielded the Uru war hammer, surrounded by thunder and lightning. Competing with meteors, unstoppable, letting the sparks burn his cloak. But now, he has become a wanderer of Asgard, a godless one, Thor Odinson. Even if I have lost my godhood, but I, still the son of Odin. I swear in the name of Odin, I will fight to the death in the name of the gods. Thor roars, swinging his axe, creating a gap in the oncoming black monsters. But the tide-like monsters fill the gap again in the next second. Thor's is outnumbered. Boom, a loud noise comes from the sky. Thor knows that it is another deity still fighting, Ares, the god of war from Olympus. A chariot falls from the sky, with 4 flying horses decapitated, their blood staining the sky. Their owner, the god of light, Apollo, had died in the previous great war. He was the first god to die in battle, but he won't be the last. No one expected that enemy, that dark god slayer, to be so powerful. Powerful enough to defeat even Zeus, the king of gods from Olympus. Apollo died in battle. Zeus is missing. Thor also lost his godhood and Mjolnir in that battle. Ares, the god of war from Olympus, is also fighting desperately on the other side of the planet, with little chance of success. Do mortals really not need gods? When Thor's heart wavered on this issue. He lost his qualification as a god, but fortunately, he is still a warrior. Facing the black monsters surging like a tide, Thor fought more bravely, never falling even though covered in wounds. Because, he is Thor, the son of Odin. Come on, evil dog, Odin's son is here. Thor's roar shook the heavens and the earth. His body covered in wounds, torn apart with countless flesh and blood, turned into a bloody figure. But none of this mattered, because he is Thor, the son of Odin. If today is the day of my death, then let there be another storm. The final thunder and lightning, boom. With Thor's final roar, suddenly, a thunderous sound came from the sky. Then, dark clouds gathered, and above the desolate planet, there appeared thunderclouds with countless thunderstorms churning inside. This. Thor widened his eyes, allowing blood to flow down from his forehead. Because he saw a bright light flying out, pulling along thunderbolts, landing among the tide-like monsters. The earth shook. The power of lightning erupted on the ground. The dark minions of the Godslayer were cleared in large numbers. Thunder fell, and the earth rumbled. Mjolnir? The monsters in front of Thor were also cleared by the falling lightning. Feeling the familiar and mighty thunder, Thor excitedly reached out a hand. Boom. Mjolnir immediately changed direction. Flying towards Thor. Thor was so excited that he almost cried, thinking that he was about to wield the power of thunder again. But Mjolnir, at a distance of less than a meter from him, suddenly turned sharply upwards. Flying straight towards the sky. Just as Thor was puzzled and confused, the figure of a strange woman suddenly appeared in the air and caught Mjolnir. Odin's child, when did you become so disheveled? Hela caught Mjolnir and looked coldly at Thor. She spoke with disdain, but her eyes revealed a hint of appreciation. This little brother is not bad, much better than the one who only knows how to lie, at least he is a warrior. You are. Thor was about to ask, who are you? But then he saw the figure of Chu Shu, who was teleported over through a portal formed by the space gem. Chu Shu. You guys. Thor was shocked. He thought he was destined to die today. But he didn't expect his friend, unilaterally considered, from Earth to come to his aid from billions of light years away. My friend, after this battle, I will definitely steal my father's treasured wine and have a drink with you before resting. After all, the 1,000-year-old honey wine you mentioned is your father's treasure, right? Chu Shu teased. But now is not the time to chat with Thor. Chu Shu's consciousness spread out and quickly discovered Ares, the god of war, on the other side of the planet. He was still fighting the monsters summoned by Gore the god butcher. The situation was critical. Thor, my friend, glad to see you're okay. Hercules was also summoned by Chu Shu. He wanted to avenge the gods who died in the city of all-knowing with his own hands. Follow me. Ares is on the other side of the planet. Chu Shu didn't waste any words. He immediately used the space gem to teleport everyone to the other side of the planet. The densely packed monsters once again came into view. These monsters covered the surface of the planet, like a black ocean. And Ares, the god of war, held a battle axe and wore ancient Greek-style armor, but it was already full of scars from battle. Under the continuous attacks of the monsters that surged like a tide, Ares was already exhausted. Brother. Seeing this, Hercules didn't hesitate at all. Wielding his 2 golden scepters, he charged straight into the battle. Thor also had no hesitation. With a roar, even though he was covered in wounds, he swung his battle axe and charged into the battlefield without hesitation. After taking a glance at Chu Shu and receiving a nod of approval from Chu Shu, Gila also joined the battle. It wasn't until everyone around had joined the battle that Chu Shu looked up. He had originally planned to ask Thor why they had come to this star domain. But now it wasn't necessary, because in the sky, a figure was staring at Chu Shu and his group with cold eyes. Gel. Upon seeing Gel, Chu Shu finally understood where it had been hiding. In this silent and uninhabited star system, there was a small passage, similar to what Blackheart had mentioned. And this small passage, connected to a dimension that Chu Shu was very familiar with, the shadow dimension. So you've been hiding in the shadow dimension. No wonder it's so dark and nothing can be seen. Chu Shu flew into the air and faced Gel across the distance. Strange. Gel was also observing Chu Shu. You don't seem to be a deity, so why are you with them? Gel sensed the aura of the Heavenly Father on Chu Shu, but it didn't panic at all. Because not long ago, it had defeated a Heavenly Father in this universe, Zeus. Let's see how you define deities. After all, in my opinion, they are just a group of aliens who have fallen into Chunibyo. Chu Shu shrugged. He had never thought of Thor and the others as deities. They were just some aliens with a bit of power who came to show off their so-called miracles, when humanity was still ignorant and undeveloped, and then they were depicted on stone walls and became the so-called deities. It seems our thoughts align. Gel nodded. Both of them showed no hostility and started chatting like this. They chatted for a while. Only then did Gel grip its completely black death sword tightly. If everyone thought like you, it would be great. Hercules, the mighty god, brandished his golden scepter with crushing force, rampaging through the monsters. Thor followed closely behind, wielding his battle axe. With the addition of Gila, the situation instantly became overwhelming. The black monsters, with their claws and fangs, were wiped out in droves. Every time Gila made a move, she cleared the enemies in a certain direction, emptying the field of vision. Soon enough, the 3 of them defeated the densely packed dark warriors. They rescued the god of war, Ares, my brother. Hercules rushed forward excitedly, supporting the staggering Ares. Anxiously and worriedly, he asked, "What about Apollo? Weren't you together? And the king of God?" Thor remained silent. He was not qualified to answer this question. "I don't know about the situation of the king, but Apollo." Ares took a deep breath, suppressing the grief and hatred in his heart. Pointing at the liquid formed by the countless black monsters they had just killed, he said. "What we just killed was Apollo. The Black Death Sword can devour the power of gods. It shapes deities' power into various ugly and evil monsters. The monsters they just killed were formed by the power of the god of light, Apollo." "Wait. Where's Darren?" Just then, Gila suddenly realized that Chu Shu was missing. However, just as Gila was surprised, boom! A loud noise came from above. With a loud noise came a furious roar. "You fraud! You deceived me!" Thor, Ares, Hercules, and Gila were all dumbfounded. Looking up, with just one glance, the 4 knowledgeable gods were all struck with stunned shock. Not far away, on a primitive planet of life, flocks of birds fell from the sky, dying without warning. Countless fish rushed onto the beach, stranded, and died. Roar! The carnivorous beast stopped hunting. And together with its prey, it crawled on the ground, emitting mournful cries. And on this primitive planet of life, some intelligent beings still in the stage of savagery, kneeled in groups on the ground, crying out to the sky with obscure language. A little alien girl knelt down on the ground. Tears slid down uncontrollably, and her life was also coming to an end. Just because the sun above their heads was being gradually devoured by darkness. Boundless darkness and coldness were about to arrive. "You deceived me. You deceived me. You were in cahoots with those damn gods." Gel's anger shook the stars. Accompanied by the sun being swallowed by darkness, the sound reached the ears of Gila and her companions. What happened? It seems to be the voice of the Godslayer. Who deceived him? Thor, Ares, and Hercules looked bewildered. Only Gila seemed to have guessed something, and a hint of pity appeared in her eyes. Poor guy. When it comes to our universe, who can be trusted and who can't, shouldn't it have done its homework? Rewind time a few minutes ago. I'm telling you, Gare, the education I received since childhood is to abolish feudal superstitions. In my opinion, the so-called beliefs and religions. In fact, it is just a mentality of wanting to gain without effort, placing the hope of development on elusive deities. This is a serious mistake. We should respect the perspective of scientific development and view things with a scientific eye. In the shadow dimension, Shu hugged Gare's shoulder, like a good brother, walking and sharing his thoughts with him. Just now, when Gare took out the all-black death sword, preparing for a decisive battle with Chu Shu timely stopped the fight with a sentence. Gare, you also said that our thoughts are the same, so is it possible that we are on the same side? And then, the above conversation happened. Gare was a little confused because it was the first time someone told him that he was not an atheist. You definitely are not an atheist. Because you believe that there are gods in this world, and you want to kill gods, naturally you become a believer. Your act of killing gods has become direct proof of the existence of deities, understand? On the contrary, if you are an atheist, then there is no need to kill anyone, because there are no gods, right? That's how Chu Shu said to Gare. What you said seems to make sense. Gare definitely wouldn't be convinced and give up his plan to kill gods with just a few words from Chu Shu. But now, it is a bit unclear about its own position. But those gods. Whenever Gare thinks of his experiences, anger towards the deities surges in his heart. Unconsciously, he tightened his grip on the all-black death sword. They are false gods, remember. Just like I said, they are a group of aliens who have fallen into Chunibyo. Chu Shu glanced at the all-black death sword in Gare's hand and continued. If you want to kill these false gods, then the target group is large. In the universe, there are too many individuals who claim to be gods, pretending and showing off just because they have a little bit of ability. You can't kill them all. Moreover, you have now come into contact with the multi-universe. Chu Shu looked serious, as if he was really considering it for Gale. You don't have to worry about that, I already have a plan. Upon hearing this, Gale smiled. If someone mentioned gods or no gods, it probably wouldn't understand. But when it came to killing gods, that was its area of expertise. I have prepared a divine bomb in my world. It is made with the heart of an ancient pseudo-god, a pseudo-god from ancient times. As long as it is detonated, all the current, past, and future pseudo-gods will die. But now, my plan goes beyond that. Gale's face revealed a smile. For thousands of years, it had encountered someone who truly understood it. Someone willing to discuss a plan to kill gods. A true atheist. When I accidentally came to your world through that rift, I realized that there are thousands and thousands of parallel universes also oppressed by pseudo-gods. It is fate. I must eliminate them. Gale opened up for the first time and revealed its entire plan. Just as Chu Shu had guessed before, Gale had a grand vision, and its goal was no longer just a god in one universe. It had set its sights on the infinite multi-universe. According to Gale's intentions, it wanted to kill all the gods in the infinite multi-universe and create an era that belonged only to mortals. Watching Gale envision its grand plan, Chu Shu knew it was time. Cough cough, Gale, you can't accomplish such a feat alone. You need someone to help you. You deceived me. You deceived me. You were in cahoots with those damn gods. Gel's anger was raging when it entrusted a part of the power of the all-black death sword to Chu Shu. What it received in return was a shameful betrayal. Friend, it wasn't my intention to deceive you. It's mainly because this treasure has a connection with me. Chu Shu spoke. A strand of black liquid flowed on his arm. As the god of symbiotes, Enril's crafted weapon, the all-black death sword is not a conventional sword in the usual sense. It is a weapon similar to a venom symbiote, capable of changing shape at will and also separating. In fact, Gel was initially confident in entrusting a part of the all-black death sword to Chu Shu. Because Gel is the owner of the all-black death sword, it can reclaim this part at any time, but Gel never expected that Chu Shu is famously a pixio physique, only able to take in and not expel. Chu Shu, I trusted you so much, but you actually deceived me. You deceiver. I will kill you 1,000 times, it's not enough. Gel has never hated someone so much. For a moment, it even felt that its hatred for the gods was not as severe as its hatred for Chu Shu. This feeling of finally opening up its heart and being betrayed, made Gel's anger reach its peak. I finally trusted once. But you made me lose so completely. Well, Gel, I really didn't want to deceive you, let alone kill you. How about you give me the rest of the all-black death sword? I'll send you directly home, and also, I still have a bit of the Morning Star's power left. You can go home and see if you can dig up the ashes of your wife and children, I'll resurrect all of them for you. How about that? For the first time, Chu Shu felt a sense of guilt about his business. He even prepared to use the remaining trace of the Morning Star's power left from the last resurrection to compensate Gel. In the dimension of shadows, there exists a dark, shadow-like presence. It has been secretly observing Chu Shu and Zhe until it noticed a hint of guilt on Chu Shu's face. The shadow became angry. You deceived him and feel guilty. Why don't you feel guilty for deceiving me? The shadow demon, Seiko, emerged from the darkness and questioned. Who are you? Chu Shu was momentarily at a loss. Unable to remember who this dark entity was, and there was no time to think slowly for Chu Shu at the moment. Because of Zhe. Clearly, Zhe did not agree with Chu Shu's proposal. You want my weapon? Fine. The fully black death sword took its original form in Zhe's hand. Its dark blade pointed directly at Chu Shu. The power to kill gods began to gather. The dimension of shadows, it is a dark dimension without any color. But now, it has gained an additional color, ultra black. It is a color that is 100 times darker than shadows, to the point where the surrounding darkness appears bright. It was just a moment. Cracks appeared in the dimension of shadows. After all, this is just a small dimension, a pocket space that cannot give birth to a master. The shadow demon is already the most powerful life here. But it is only a beginner in the realm of gods. Take it with your life. Zhe swung his sword. This is the power to kill gods. It is the power of the god Null, sealed within this sword as a symbiotic god. It is the power of the deceased member of the god group. Zhe, filled with extreme anger, did not hold back. He released this terrifying power all at once, in one fell swoop. Oh wow! Oh wow! Chu Shu and Shadow Fiend exclaimed at the same time. The former realized that this power was disposable. Once Jer used it, he wouldn't have it anymore. The latter, on the other hand, was because, damn it, the shadow dimension of labor. Boom. Darkness swallowed everything. The shadow dimension disintegrated in an instant. Then, that terrifying power came to the real dimension through the small passage. The first to suffer was the nearest fixed star. The power of the Black Death Sword erupted, transforming into a Galactus Python, swallowing the sun in one gulp. And this, it was the original life planet. And Gila and others witnessed the terrifying scene of the darkness devouring the sun. A fixed star. Extinct. The power of a dead god from a different universe. In the universe where Chu Shu was, the last afterglow erupted. In the depths of the universe. Inside a skull-like head the size of a small planet. One of the cosmic elders, Collector, suddenly focused his attention on the direction of the energy eruption. Is there a god fighting in the deeper parts of the universe? The Arbiter, Erisham, had just pronounced the fate of a planet, death. Just as it finished pronouncing and was preparing to leave this star region, it suddenly sensed something. This is a god from another universe? Erisham felt the anger and unwillingness in that power, understanding that it was the power of a dead god in the universe. The number of gods in the universe needs to increase. Erisham came to a conclusion. With this conclusion in mind, it went to the next galaxy awaiting judgment. The sun went out. This already desolate star system began to turn pitch black and cold. The primitive planet of life has reached its final conclusion. The dark sky began to snow. The ocean started to freeze. As the residual heat on the surface dissipated little by little, eternal darkness and winter were about to descend. What power is this? On the abandoned planet at the beginning. Thor was shocked. The power of the gods. The true power of the gods. Hela answered Thor, as well as Ares and Hercules, who were equally shocked and confused. In the pitch-black space, Gel slowly emerged from nothingness. His gaze was gloomy. There was still a trace of lingering anger on his face. Where it left, there was a crumbling pocket dimension. Where it stepped, there was a sun swallowed by darkness. This is the price of deceiving me. Just when Gel thought Chu Shu was already dead, the voice that made it itch with hatred also emerged from the void. Actually, what I said earlier still counts. If you give me the all-black sword now, I can still help you resurrect your wife and daughter, really. Chu Shu's face was shrouded in darkness as he slowly walked out of the crumbling shadow dimension. Behind him, the cloak of the Great Shadow was being pulled back by the gravity of nearby planets, flying backward. Finally, Chu Shu finally tested the energy absorption limit of this cloak. Level single universe, but this also meant Chu Shu now also had a chance to counterattack at the same level as the stars. Gel, I really don't want to kill you, the only words I didn't deceive you with. Behind Chu Shu, the cloak of darkness fluttered. The power of the dead god still had a second chance to erupt. This is impossible. Looking at Chu Shu, who was unharmed, Gale couldn't accept it. He had used the most terrifying power within the Black Death Sword. Just the residual waves alone were enough to extinguish the terrifying power of a fixed star. Why couldn't he kill him? After the shock, Gale's gaze quickly turned cold. He turned a deaf ear to Chu Shu's words about resurrecting his wife and daughter. Do you think I will believe you again now? Gale could feel the familiar terrifying power emanating from Chu Shu's cloak. But he still made up his mind. Let's fight to the death. Gale raised the Black Death Sword, and the pitch-black blade pointed directly at Chu Shu. Chu Shu fell silent. He saw the madness in Gale's eyes. I am Gale, a small person, a wanderer forgotten by the world. Gale's body, enveloped in the Black Death Sword, turned into a black lightning and rushed forward without hesitation. Countless sharp blades unfolded behind Gale like tentacles. They simultaneously attacked Chu Shu. I once bathed in the blood of gods. I fought with all my might to carve a path of blood, only for a simple dream. The end of the era of gods, when Gale shouted the last sentence loudly. Chu Shu's heart skipped a beat. It's over. Now I'm truly seen as the antagonist in the eyes of the readers. But there's no time to worry about whitewashing anymore. If I'm the antagonist, then so be it. Cloak, unfold. Chu Shu had a thought. The cloak of the Great Shadow behind him instantly unfolded. The deceased divine being once again, and for the last time, radiated its afterglow. Unleash the darkest radiance. Even in the silent space, there is still a faint glimmer. But around Chu Shu, it was completely dark, chillingly dark. Come on. Gel is like the protagonist in a story, full of faith. He rushes into this darkness without hesitation. While Chu Shu, on the other hand, is like the Demon King in the story, transforming into darkness and devouring all things bright. This time, there is no buffer from the shadow dimension. The power of the gods, erupting directly in the real universe. The first to be impacted is the sun that has already been swallowed by darkness. Inside this ancient fixed star, gravitational imbalance causes it to collapse, forming a black hole that devours everything. Then, not far from the fixed star, there is a lava planet. In just an instant, this densely packed planet shatters into pieces. Then, it is swallowed by the darkness that follows, and even the remnants of the planet begin to disappear. Oh no! On the abandoned planet at the beginning, Hela's face changes drastically. Without any hesitation, she unleashes the power of her father. Carrying Thor, Ares, and Hagrid, they flee in the direction away from the energy eruption. The vast starry sky, under Hela's full eruption. Thor and his companions race against the meteors, allowing the starfire to burn. Transforming into several shining meteors, they fly towards the outermost part of this solar system. Wait. There is life on that planet. I hear their prayers. But as they approach that primitive life planet, Thor suddenly turns his head to look. On that planet covered in frost, there are still some resilient lives struggling to survive. They ignite everything around them that can be ignited, forming a circle and praying to the gods. Don't be foolish. Hela guesses her brother's thoughts. She quickly rebukes him. You can't save them. If you stay, you will die too, however. Upon hearing these words, Thor turns his head to look at Hela. He now knows that this powerful and unfamiliar goddess of death before him is the sister mentioned by Chu Shu, the eldest princess of Asgard, Odin's daughter. Sister. What kind of deity is it if the gods do not respond to prayers? Thor broke free from Hela's power. Without hesitation, he leapt towards that icy planet. Odin's fool, Hela was extremely angry. But under the threat of the spreading power of the gods, she could only give up on Thor. A quick retreat. At the edge of the fixed star, no, now it should be called the edge of the black hole. Chu Shu used his own methods to retaliate against Gear. Using the power of the Asgardian unleashed by the destroyer Garm, he struck back at Gear, hitting him into the black hole. Truly, it is the Marvel world. Chu Shu gazed at the black hole. using the space gem to counteract the terrifying gravity of the black hole. If this were a normal world, or a hard science fiction world like the three-body problem, then Gear, who was thrown into the black hole, would never escape, even if he didn't die. Because just being near the edge of a black hole's event horizon, the different flow of time alone would cause Gear's movements to infinitely approach stillness. But this is the Marvel world, and Gear is a dimensional attacker who came from the Marvel comic world. If you have no other means, then it's my turn. Wrapped in the black death sword, Gear forcibly crawled out of the black hole. That's right, in Chushu's perspective, it was as if countless infinitely long black tentacles grew out of the black hole. They rapidly extended in the boundless space, entwining around the remnants of planets or small planets nearby. And then, they forcefully dragged their master, Gear, out of the black hole. Thank goodness Da Lu can't see this scene. Chushu sighed, glad that this scene wasn't seen by Da Lu. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't even write the three-body problem, and would directly rewrite a book called The Legend of Gear. Gear didn't know who Da Lu was, and he didn't care. Although the black hole did not kill or trap Gear, under the impact of the power of the gods, Gear was still covered in injuries and suffered heavy blows. Now we have no interference from other powers. Come on, it's just you and me. Gear felt that all the bones in his body were falling apart, and his internal organs were also severely impacted. Even the hand holding the all-black death sword was trembling. But Gear still raised the pitch-black blade. You and I shall fight to the end, as you wish. Chushu drew out glamour, regardless of their previous thoughts or whether they agreed with each other's views. None of that mattered anymore. Now, there was only one way to end it, through battle. Gear would not stop either. Since it picked up the all-black death sword and killed the first deity, it could no longer stop. Come on. Come on. In an instant, two different forces collided with a loud crash. The speed of destruction surpassed the sound. The two fought from the boundless space all the way to the abandoned planet where it all began. Then, from the surface of that planet, they pierced through the layers of rock and the core, passing through scorching magma. Finally, they emerged from the other side of the planet. Oh, Zeus's lightning. That human, he is actually a heavenly father. Outside the galaxy, Ares stared blankly at this scene. He never expected that Chushu, this human, would turn out to be a heavenly father. And a heavenly father even more powerful than his own father, Zeus. Who is he? Ares asked his brother in a daze. He is called Chushu, a respected king, according to his own words. He is the strongest king, 1200 points, Heracles said seriously. His words carried a hint of respect for the strong. On the original planet of life, frost covers the ground. Vegetation freezes. On this planet plunged into eternal darkness, only a few scattered places still burn with light. They are the few lives on this planet that have learned to use fire. They ignite the last pieces of wood. When these burn out, they will also die along with the other extinct lives on this planet. Can't wait for the flames to extinguish. Boom. The power of the gods destroys planets in this solar system like breaking rotten wood. Just now, a group of primitive people gathered around the campfire witnessed the extinction of a star. It was the closest gaseous planet to them, somewhat similar to Jupiter in the solar system. Huge, like a big bowl, inverted in their sky. And just now, this gaseous planet was also swallowed by a horrifying darkness. Ah, ah. The primitive lives cried out to the sky. They prayed to the gods in their own language. Praying to the wind, praying to the rain, praying to the thunder and lightning, praying to the sky. Soon, someone responded to them, but it was not a deity. Boom. Thor descended from the sky, pierced through the cold atmosphere, and crashed onto the ground, creating a deep pit in the already frozen ground. The powerful impact almost broke Thor's ankle, but he ignored the pain. Listen. You have to follow me quickly. Thor found the lives in front of the campfire along the light. But as soon as he finished speaking, he himself froze. Go. How to go? Thor, who was eager to save people, overlooked an important question. He was no longer the god of thunder who wielded the divine hammer and controlled the wind and rain. I have lost my divinity. Heimdall, can you see me? Have you returned to Asgard? Thor could only place his hope in Heimdall. When the destroyer invaded Asgard, Thor fought against it. He fought to buy some time for Heimdall and a portion of the Asgardian people to escape. He succeeded in saving a portion of the people. Now, Thor only hopes that these survivors have returned to Asgard. Heimdall, if you can see me, please help me open the Bifrost. I need you, Thor shouted to the sky, but no one responded to him. The primitive beings by the bonfire also couldn't understand what this strange extraterrestrial being was doing. Until a girl from another world handed Thor a torch. Ah ya woo woo ga, Thor couldn't understand what the girl from another world was saying. Until the girl gestured with her hand, Thor understood her meaning, with fire, it's not cold. Thank you, but you can keep it. I can withstand the cold wind of Jotunheim. Thor refused the girl's kindness, but as the colorful pillar of the Bifrost continued to not descend, Thor realized that his last hope had also been dashed. Heimdall did not return to Asgard, if I still held the hammer. Wielding thunder, Thor lifted his head. Looking at the approaching darkness, the question that caused him to lose his divinity resurfaced in his mind. Mortal, do you really need gods? What if Gel's fate is not an exception? What if there are more gods who ignore people's prayers? Thor couldn't find an answer in his heart. For a moment, he even thought Gel was right. But if there were no gods, how would they survive? Thor looked at the alien girl beside him, handing him a torch. Then he looked at the terrified faces sitting around the bonfire not far away. Other gods might give up on these ignorant lives. After all, there are too many intelligent species in the vast universe. It is normal for a few intelligent species to be extinct due to a disaster. No, it shouldn't be like this. Thor took off his battle axe from behind. He gripped the handle with both hands. His gaze stared straight at the darkness spreading from above. Every breath he exhaled turned into anger, his fighting spirit soaring. I swear in the name of Odin's forest, today, no one will die. Thor leapt up and rushed towards the darkness, and silently completed the unfinished words in his heart. If death is inevitable, then let the sky rain tears of blood. Let Odin's blood stain the earth. What is he doing? The battle between Chushu and Jir separated with a blow, echoing in the deep space of the universe. The two fought from an abandoned planet to a small planetoid. Jir felt like his bones were about to break, but it couldn't care about the pain. Because at this moment, there was something even more unbelievable than the pain. It saw Thor saving people. No, no, no. That's all hypocritical show. These false gods don't care about mortals at all. Thor's actions were like sharp knives piercing Gur's heart. The damage caused was even several times more severe than the gram in Chushu's hand. Master Camille once said that the world is not black or white, but a delicate gray. Chushu's condition was not good either. Gel, who came out of the comic world, can be said to be the most powerful enemy he has ever fought in a 1-versus-1 battle. Even stronger than Mephisto, who is the top heavenly father. Clenching his fists, Gel's pitch-black blade still ravages inside his body. Every time the two of them collide, a part of the power of the fully black death sword will penetrate Chushu's body. Those pitch-black liquid weapons, penetrating the flesh, adhering to the bones, drilling into the bone marrow, corroding from within. This is Gel's way of fighting. As the battle continues, it will gradually erode the opponent's body without them realizing it. It allows him to defeat enemies stronger than himself by using their weakness against them. But this time, Gel miscalculated. Ding. Abnormal substance detected. The exorcism system is purifying for you. Every time the system prompt sounds, it means that the ownership of the fully black death sword has transferred a little bit. It's like competing for ownership of a listed company's shares. Chushu is gradually acquiring the shares of the fully black death sword from Gel's hands. It's all lies. He can't save those people. He's just giving them a false hope, and then he will personally shatter it. Gel is extremely angry. Thor's actions undoubtedly dealt a heavy blow to its belief in slaughtering gods for thousands of years. Although Gel has also encountered some so-called benevolent gods. Some gods who are willing to respond to prayers. But never has any deity been willing to sacrifice their own life for mortals. Never. Surprised? That idiot can be associated with many words, such as stupid, foolish, and naive. But he can never be associated with evil. In the spreading darkness, Thor used his body to block a gap, bringing a glimmer of hope to the lives sitting around the campfire. Come on, in the name of the gods, fight to the death. Thor gritted his teeth. His body was a mess of flesh and blood. The darkness gnawed at his flesh like bone-eating insects. And this was just a residual wave of divine power. If only I could still hold Mjolnir. Just as Thor's consciousness was about to be completely swallowed by darkness, a cold voice suddenly entered his ears. Tell me. What kind of god are you? The god of hammers. Odin's son. Hela unexpectedly returned, carrying Mjolnir. In Thor's dying moments. Lose a hammer, and you become a mere mortal? Hela said resentfully. She had also wielded the divine hammer. Strictly speaking, she was the first owner of Mjolnir. But Hela never felt that without this hammer, she lost her so-called divinity. Tell me. What kind of god are you? Speak. Hela swung the hammer backhand, striking Thor's chest. Thor, who was already on the brink of death, had his life completely taken by this blow. When Thor opened his eyes again, he was already in a white world, with two familiar friends standing in front of him. Fandral and Hogun. I have come to Valhalla? Thor's face was solemn. Before, he might have been overjoyed about this. Because entering the Soul Castle after death was the highest honor for a warrior. But I still have unfinished business. There are still lives that need me to save. I cannot fall here. Thousands of years ago. Inside the magnificent weapons hall of Asgard. A young Thor, gripping the handle of Mjolnir, exerted all his strength to try to lift it. Thor unleashed the power to fight against the dragon. But Mjolnir didn't budge at all. Ah, in the name of Odin's furious beard, you truly are a stubborn hammer. Young Thor angrily cursed at Mjolnir. The curse was met with steady footsteps. What has made Odin's son so angry? Odin's wife, Thor's mother, the goddess Frigga, appeared with a teasing smile. Mother. I defeated a dragon today. I saved a village in Midgard. And I even salvaged a fishing boat from a storm. Young Thor's anger made his words incoherent. It wasn't until Frigga gently soothed him that he calmed down. What? What must I do to be worthy? Thor looked at Mjolnir with longing in his eyes. Thor, my child. Frigga grabbed Thor's wrist with both hands. Her eyes carried a mother's concern. Remember, there is no hammer in this world that can make you a better god. Frigga said, placing Thor's palm on his chest. Only the beating heart inside your chest can do that. In the darkness, the deceased Thor suddenly opened his eyes. Lightning emerged from his fingertips, filling even his pupils. I am the god of thunder and lightning, Thor. Thor answered his sister Hela's question with his actions. In the darkness, a dazzling burst of lightning and thunder erupted. At this moment, there should be flashes of lightning. There should be thunderous might. Thor roared, facing the aftermath of the power of the gods alone. He retaliated against the boundless darkness with thunder and lightning. Doesn't this guy know that if he just retreats a little bit, the power of the gods will weaken? Hasn't this surge of divine power subsided? Hela didn't understand what her brother was thinking. Clearly, it would be safe to evacuate with the others, so why did he insist on confronting the power of the gods? Never mind. You don't need this anyway. Hela vaguely felt that her brother might not be very smart. But she didn't have time to think about these things now. She took Mjolnir and flew towards a distant small planet. She returned against the aftermath of the power of the gods. But it wasn't for this foolish brother. In the small planet composed of debris from other planets nearby. Chu Shu's battle with Girl became intense. Purple annihilation rays flickered in the pitch-black space. Every sweep would split countless huge amounts of meteorites, and even small planets, into pieces. Purple tentacles and black tentacles formed by the fully black death sword entangled and collided with each other. Different forces clashed in the boundless deep space. Shaking the stars, the nearby space cracked inch by inch. The new power obtained from Quags. It's somewhat similar to a combination of Big Eye and Mother Tentacles in the Alliance. An unstoppable ray that ignores defense, and tentacle skills that can entangle, control, and cause damage. That's right, this is Chu Shu, forgetting the past, not remembering the middle. With the current version update, real damage and control skills have been added, anyway. What kind of monster are you? Gel was already covered in wounds. But what truly puzzled it was why Chu Shu could still fight. It had clearly injected a large amount of the fully black death sword into Chu Shu's body during the battle. According to reason, at this point, Chu Shu should have already been corroded from the inside by the liquid form of the fully black death sword. There's no way they could still fight. Daring, keep going. Chu Shu was about to speak. Hela's voice suddenly entered their ears. At the same time, accompanied by a swiftly flying light. Feeling the power of thunder and lightning contained in that light, Chu Shu instinctively reached out and caught it. In an instant, a burst of lightning exploded in the boundless deep space. After all that, it turns out that my role in this episode is King Thor. Chu Shu held the God King's sword, gram, in his left hand, and Mjolnir 1.9 in his right hand. Half of his pupils were filled with violent electric light, while the other half was the darkness of the fully black death sword. You're stealing my weapons, Gel finally realized, noticing the darkness in Chu Shu's pupils. Unfortunately, it was too late. Chu Shu's mastery of the fully black death sword could already contend with it. If we were to describe it in terms of a listed company, Chu Shu went from being a retail investor to the second largest shareholder. The fully black death sword that Gel lost appeared on Chu Shu. Like a symbiote, it flowed down Chu Shu's arm in liquid form. Finally, it attached itself to Gram, turning this divine king's treasure into an equally black blade. It no longer belongs to you alone, Gel. Your defeat is certain. Chu Shu raised the black blade. The power to slay gods surged within him. Looking at the pitch-black blade in Chu Shu's hand, Gel remained silent. It already knew its fate for today. Even with its fully black death sword, Gel couldn't defeat Chu Shu, let alone retrieve it. Come on. You have only one way to obtain this sword from me, intact. Gel decided to fight to the death. However, just as Chu Shu and Gel were preparing to continue their battle, a figure just as pitch black, rushed straight towards them from a distance. It was Gel from this world. Glamour, Gel from this world. Holding the death sword from this world, his gaze fixed directly on the divine king's treasure in Chu Shu's hand, Glamour. That gaze was very familiar to Chu Shu. That's right. It was the same gaze Gel had when looking at the fully black death sword. That sword can open the Bifrost. It is the key to my eternal life. Gel from this world. He didn't have the same grand vision and ambition as the Godslayer Gel. Compared to slaughtering the gods, he only had one small wish, to resurrect his daughter. If you want to resurrect someone, go find the eternal. These were the words spoken by the gods in the City of Omniscience to Gel. Gel kept it in mind. And now, it only needed one more key to find the eternal. In the movie, Thor 4, Gel traveled to the eternal land through Thor's Stormbreaker. But now, in this timeline where everyone is, Stormbreaker has not yet been born. Gel could only set his sights on another weapon that could open the Bifrost. Chu Shu's Glamour. Now this is interesting. Chu Shu didn't expect that when he set his sights on someone else's weapon, someone else would set their sights on his weapon. Since that's the case, there's nothing more to talk about, let's fight. The addition of Gel from this world did not change the situation of the battle. Even Hela's joining couldn't change anything. The focus of the battlefield still lies on Chu Shu and Zhe. As the power of the Black Death Sword splits in two, Chu Shu has also become the Godslayer. With a swing of his sword, the radiant energy is enough to destroy countless meteorites. The celestial bodies along the way tremble, as if fearing something. Chu Shu, I have entrusted my power to you. I trust you so much. The black sword light flashes, severing Zhe's arm at the shoulder. Then, the sword light continues unabated, splitting a small planet behind into two. Zhe is unable to withstand Chu Shu's attack. Especially after Chu Shu obtained the power of the Black Death Sword, his decline is even more evident. I have crossed the universe just for a pure dream. Zhe struggles to resist Chu Shu's onslaught. Using a part of the Black Death Sword, he shapes a pure black arm for himself. Buzz. As the annihilation ray sweeps through, the liquid arm that Zhe just transformed instantly dissipates. Zhe doesn't understand why a person would have so many means of attack, and each one is so powerful. But Chu Shu is just that kind of person. Chu Shu, why can't you stand on my side? Why do you help those false gods? You clearly know. Mortals are not created by gods. There is no creator in this world. They fabricated lies, deceiving all living beings. Zhe hysterical, black blood flows from its 7 orifices, its life is coming to an end. You're thinking too much. I just need this weapon. Chu Shu says truthfully. Then if I give you this sword, can you help me kill all the gods? Zhe angrily roars. Sure, give me the sword first. Chu Shu finishes speaking. Gel had a look of, do you think I'm an idiot? How exactly do you expect to understand that the world is not just black and white? Now Chu Shu understood why Gel in the comic was the antagonist. Too extreme. Typical binary thinking. Chu Shu still couldn't understand why these antagonists had to be so extreme. Couldn't they be a bit more flexible like himself? Who's good and who's bad? Anyone who treats me well is a good person. Anyone who affects my interests is a bad person. We're all adults, be a little selfish and be good to everyone. Chu Shu also gave Gel a chance to choose. As long as it handed over the all-black sword, he would help it resurrect its wife and daughter. But Gel refused, so there was nothing he could do. What a pity. Just as Chu Shu raised his sword, ready to end Gel's life. No, this is impossible. Gel seemed to have seen something unbelievable. It turned out to be on that primitive planet. Thor, who had regained his divine power, successfully saved the alien ecology that was still in a state of ignorance and underdevelopment. Woo-ah-ah-ah. Those alien lives fell to their knees. Grateful and tearful, they prayed to every deity present. No, 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 something in Gel's heart seemed to collapse. Like a broken mirror, because he heard the prayers of those lives. And understood their language. They were saying, thank the gods, praise the gods. This is impossible. Gel slumped on a meteorite. The prayers that reached its ears destroyed its thousands of years of persistence. As if its soul was suddenly taken away, it reverted back to its original form. I am too, stuttered Gale. What could be more painful than the slayer of gods discovering that they themselves are also a deity? Gale slumped on a meteor, devoid of the strength to even lift a sword. Its thousands of years of perseverance seemed like a joke. Gale looked at another version of itself in the distance, the one still fighting alongside Gila for its dream. It was far from being a match for Gila. Just like the Black Death Sword was far inferior to the complete Black Death Sword. But that Gale didn't give up. It was knocked down and severely injured by Gila time and time again, but it kept getting up. Shu Shu. Is what you said true? Can you resurrect dead man? Or are you just deceiving me again? Gale turned to look at Chu Shu. The anger that was once present in its eyes had disappeared. Only the calmness of someone on the brink of death remained. Why are you asking this? Chu Shu didn't answer Gale's question, but instead asked in return. Don't you want this weapon? Gale reached out and handed over the final jet black blade voluntarily. Chu Shu reached out and accepted it. The jet black blade immediately merged with him like a symbiotic venom. At this moment, the weapon that could slay gods fell completely into Chu Shu's hands. The jet black liquid formed a battle robe on Chu Shu's body. It resonated with the cloak of the great demon Shadow. Both were shrouded in darkness, extending outward, covering vast star domains. You look more like a slayer of gods than I do. Gale gave up the complete Black Death Sword, and its life rapidly dwindled like a candle in the wind. Do me a favor, Chu Shu, for the sake of when you once put your arm around my shoulder and said we were like-minded brothers. Do me a small favor. Chu Shu had many good brothers, but their outcomes generally weren't too good. Gel was the same. It only served as Chu Shu's good brother for a few minutes. Now, it has met its final end. Gel is dead. To be precise, the Gel from the parallel universe is dead. In this universe, on that unnamed planet, suddenly, a strong wind blew. Thunderclouds rolled. This unnamed planet, which hadn't seen rain in decades, suddenly experienced a downpour. Rain fell to the ground, for 20 days and nights. The heavenly dew brought hope of life to the dying creatures on this planet. Thanks to the great messenger of light, thanks to Lap. Those ignorant beings ran in the rain, thanking a wrong name. They didn't know that the deity they believed in, Lap, had long disappeared. Now, the one actually saving them is a godslayer who came from the otherworld with hatred. Fortunately, no one cares. Thank you. The Gel from this universe knelt on the ground. The Black Death Sword was casually thrown aside like trash. Because compared to this god-killing weapon, it obtained the most precious thing, its daughter. To lose and regain is always the most beautiful thing in the world. Thank yourself from another world. Chu Shu coldly glanced at Gel and didn't say much. He had already obtained the all-black death sword he wanted. The purpose of this journey has been achieved. Please allow me to follow you. Gel knelt down together with its daughter. In fact, the Gel in this world is not weak. With the Black Death Sword in hand, it can fight against 2 Thors in the future. Although it cannot win against Gila, the level Godfather, it can barely hold its ground for a few rounds. This level of strength is already quite powerful in the Marvel movie universe. No need. Chu Shu refused Gel without hesitation. The reason is simple. Having the same name as Gel. Why are you so useless? Alright, live well with your daughter. I estimate that you won't have many peaceful days ahead. Chu Shu was not joking. Whether it's Gel from a parallel universe or Gel from this world, their hands are stained with the blood of gods. There are countless gods seeking revenge against them. Chu Shu doesn't care. He has already fulfilled his promise. It's strange. How can there still be a sense of guilt when deceiving someone? No, my basic skills are still weak. I need to find more demons to hone myself. Chu Shu shook his head, and instantly disappeared on Gel's planet. The story of the Godslayer Gel has come to an end. Whether it's Gel from this world or Gel from the 616 universe, it has ended. Thus, Chu Shu's butterfly wings. Finally, they have fluttered from this universe to other parallel universes. In the 616 universe, in the distant future, an aging king, Thor, fights fiercely, covered in blood. But soon, he realizes that the dark berserkers in front of him are disappearing one after another. As if they never existed in the first place, as if they were erased from a piece of paper. King Thor stood still for several seconds, then he finally reacted. The enemies of Asgard disappeared. They were directly erased from the river of time. Gore has been eliminated? Did my younger self kill it? King Thor stared into the distance in a daze. His mind sank into memories. After a while, his only remaining eyes suddenly showed a trace of horror. Because in his dusty memories, he could no longer find any memories of the battles with Gore. No. It was someone from another universe who eliminated Gore. Just as King Thor finished speaking, his body also disappeared, just like those vanished dark warriors, disappearing bit by bit. And not only him, even this dilapidated Asgard around him, also gradually turned white and disappeared. They were completely erased, as if they had never existed, just like being erased by an artist's eraser. The entire timeline related to Gore, all the stories about Gore's future, have disappeared. The 616 universe, now, the timeline that Gore left. Countless cosmic gods sensed something, a completely different parallel universe. Kamar Taj, the Ancient One, stroked his beard, a glimmer of light flashing in his old eyes. The Ancient One in this universe is an elderly Eastern man. He has no connection whatsoever with the Ancient One in the universe where Chu Shu is, except for sharing the same name. The future has been changed. The power of our universe is tilting towards the other universe. The Ancient One of the 616 universe sighed. He felt an irresistible force, drawing energy from his own universe. It was as if there were a pair of God's hands, lifting up a large and a small lake. And then pouring the water from the large lake, tilting it into the small lake. It seems that this will be another unprecedented major event. In the universe where Chu Shu is located, Asgard. Even if the surroundings are in ruins, there is always a celebration after a great battle. Fortunately, there is no wine cellar in the destroyed buildings. Thor boasted many times about the Millennium Mead, and not a single bottle was damaged, so it can be used for a hearty drink. Ha ha ha. My friend, although your strength is greater than mine, your alcohol tolerance is far inferior to mine. Thor, reeking of alcohol, stood at the edge of the Bifrost and laughed loudly. A gust of wind blew. There was no one behind him. The celebration had long ended. Chu Shu, Hela, and Ares had all left hours ago. On the Bifrost, only Thor remained, standing alone. However, this loneliness would not last long. The Asgardian people who left with Heimdall to retreat had already received Thor's message. They were on their way back. It wouldn't take long. Asgard would return to its former liveliness. But many familiar faces were missing. Brother. A voice suddenly reached Thor's ears. Thor didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Our father is gone, Loki. I know, that's why I came back. Loki walked to Thor's side and placed his hand on Thor's shoulder. Thor looked at Loki in surprise. Then he looked into the distance. In his dying moments, his soul briefly went to the True Soul Castle, Valhalla. There, he received earth-shattering news. The King of God has been imprisoned. Listen, little brother, whoever harmed the King of God, they will only face the wrath of the gods. So you killed the gel from another world and took its all-black sword? And changed the fate of our gel in this world? Inside the holy place in New York, the Ancient One learned that Chu Shu had once again made drastic changes to the timeline. But he appeared calm. Chu Shu was puzzled. Weren't you most concerned about this before? Worried about the chaos in time and what might go wrong? Why are you so calm this time? Why are you looking at me like that? The Ancient One seemed to understand Chu Shu's thoughts and said indifferently, don't forget, I am no longer the Sorcerer Supreme. Now, the one who should really be worried is the Ancient One in the universe where Gel is. The corners of the Ancient One's mouth curled up. Whenever she thought about the other ancient ones in different worlds, she couldn't help but feel delighted because of the trouble caused by Chu Shu. This kid finally started to mess with outsiders. No longer clinging to her all the time. Have you been to other parallel universes? Chu Shu was curious. Definitely. I have also seen many different versions of myself. After the ancient one finished speaking, she noticed Chu Shu's strange expression. She couldn't help but roll her eyes. I know what you're thinking, don't compare me to that old man. Obviously, the ancient one had some understanding of the many versions of herself in parallel universes. She knew that in many of the parallel universes, she took the form of an old Eastern man. But these things were not important, because in the countless universes, each individual is unique and special. Wait a minute. The ancient one suddenly paused and looked at Chu Shu. Which world did you actually come from, kid? Why have I never seen you in any other parallel universe? Asked the ancient one. She had seen different versions of herself, different versions of Wanda, and different versions of Strange in parallel universes. But she had never seen any other version of Chu Shu. Chu Shu hesitated. In the world I come from, everyone is a super powerhouse who can hold the sun, moon, and stars in their hands. They speak nicely and look good. They are all handsome and beautiful, like fairies. Chu Shu continued, since there was no going back anyway. He wanted to make his hometown sound good and save face for himself. The Ancient One gave him a skeptical look. After reporting his impressive achievements to the Ancient One, Chu Shu left the New York sanctum and immediately cast a high-level spell to find someone. Yes. It was the same spell he used to track down, Florida doesn't tolerate idlers, through the internet. The magic energy swept across the globe, quickly locked onto a location. Not too far away. Chu Shu chose to fly slowly instead of teleporting. Just happened to review what happened recently. After eating and drinking heavily in Asgard, Chu Shu slept for 2 days and 2 nights. It was a close call not to beat Zhou Gong to death in the dream. While questioning him, "Can you please wake me up?" Zhou Gong in the dream was almost crying. "You got drunk. What does it have to do with me? I came here to chat with you out of kindness, but you just started beating me up without saying a word." No wonder it's the after-effect of Odin's 1,000-year honey wine. Chu Shu shook his head. Now he knows that besides gaming, he has another weakness. No, there is only one weakness, which is his alcohol tolerance. As for his gaming skills, they are awesome. The #1 player in the US server, Batman, do you think it's a joke? But Hagrid actually joined the Avengers. I don't know how Hagrid got involved with Stark. Anyway, as soon as Chu Shu awakened, the first news he saw was Hercules from Greece joins the Avengers. In the news, Tony Stark was laughing so hard that his mouth never closed, and Chu Shu felt like grabbing a wrench and prying his teeth out one by one. And there have been more things happening these past few days. Apart from the new member joining the Avengers Alliance, Earth has also welcomed a long-lost wanderer. A spaceship landed in a small town in Colorado. A person, a tree, a raccoon, and a bunch of strange little gadgets jumped out of the spaceship. Chu Shu knew that this was Star-Lord and his team from the Guardians of the Galaxy. But who knows, maybe they just came back to visit their families. Compared to these irrelevant matters, Chu Shu now has something more important to do. Little water spirit, don't think that I've forgotten about you, he. The water spirit has lost its eternal ability. It has become an ultimate legal loli who looks like she's in her teens but is actually thousands of years old. And now, Chu Shu. After obtaining the comic version of the all-black Necrosword, his strength has skyrocketed. Not to mention the single universe level, but at least crushing a few heavenly fathers is no problem at all. And the all-black Necrosword's ability to kill gods is enough to allow Chu Shu to easily challenge the gods. What the hell, are you calling yourself Artemis? You're just adding fuel to the fire by arbitrarily changing my Earth. Ahem. Although his strength is already very powerful, Chu Shu still remembers his original intention and doesn't have the slightest arrogance as a big shot. Going to a kindergarten to seek revenge on a little friend, others may not know, but Chu Shu can really do it. Soon, Chu Shu followed the guidance of magic and arrived in the area where the water spirit was. Below is a children's park, and a bunch of little friends are playing and frolicking down there. Should I create a mirror space? Chu Shu hesitated. After all, if this matter were to be known, it would be a little embarrassing. After all, one's reputation is still very important. Never mind, let's just disguise ourselves directly. With the thought, Chu Shu's demonic power immediately changed his appearance. If I remember correctly, the last time I used this little skill was when I beat Florida doesn't tolerate idlers. Shu, who had completed the disguise, quietly landed in the park. According to the guidance of magic, the water spirit is in the small grove ahead. But after walking a few steps, a little girl suddenly rushed out of the bushes and cried out in fear when she saw Shu. Ah, monster. Don't cry, I'm a good person, really, if you cry again, I'll eat you. Shu, wearing a demonic mask, comforted the little friend in a soft voice. Unexpectedly, the comfort didn't work at all. Instead, the crying became even more severe. Woo-wah-wah. The crying sounded like an air raid siren. Soon enough, a figure was attracted by the crying. It was a girl dressed as a squirrel, with a cute squirrel headband on her head. More importantly, on the girl's shoulder, there was really a living squirrel. Stop. You villain. The girl put her hands on her hips, her chest heaving with anger. Capital Peachwood. Now standing in front of you is the invincible squirrel sister. Squeak. The squirrel on the girl's shoulder also echoed. Oh no. Shu's heart skipped a beat. It's over. Encountering Marvel's strongest. Shu lost. Shu, who possesses the top heavenly father and the all-black death sword, lost. Don't ask why he lost, and don't ask how he lost, he just lost. Because his opponent is the invincible squirrel sister. Quickly take note. After defeating Thanos, Rhino Man, Ultron, Doom, Red Skull, and the Extraordinary Dragon, the Planet Devourer, once again, the invincible squirrel sister has defeated the strongest king, Shu. Squirrel sister stood with her hands on her hips. She had the nearby squirrel monkey help record the battle record. The battle record has pictures as evidence. She is the strongest king. Do you understand the significance of 1200 points? Shu patted the squirrels on his body, driving them away, while correcting her. Hey, how are you not hurt? Squirrel sister looked at Shu in surprise. What else can you do besides arguing with me about the settings? Shu took off the mask of demonic power. He looked disdainfully at Squirrel sister and said, So, what abilities do you have? Me? Squirrel sister stood with her hands on her hips. Proudly, she said, I, Doreen Green, have the super ability to communicate with squirrels. And then? Shu had a black line on his forehead. He lost to this thing? And then, I have the speed of a flying squirrel, super strong power, and super fast reflexes. Oh, and my joints can stretch. I also have a squirrel's big tail and sharp little claws. Squirrel sister had a proud expression on her face. With these abilities, she defeated countless enemies. Those terrifying super villains, in front of her, only needed a page turn or a transition, and they all fell. No need for any fighting or any reason. Just flip to the next page, or a camera transition, and Squirrel sister wins. It's that simple. Now I understand why you should never compare combat power with a comedic character. Shu admitted defeat. Tell me, Squirrel sister, which parallel universe did you come from this time? Shu was very certain that the girl in front of him was definitely not a native life form of his own universe. Because she had just claimed to have defeated Ultron. Anyway, the Ultron in his world was definitely not defeated by some little squirrel. Ah? What do you mean? Are there other universes? Isn't this still my world? The squirrel girl asked a series of questions, seemingly realizing it late. After all that, this girl didn't even know that she had traveled through. Forget it. There's no point in asking. I'll just send you back home. Shu took out a card. Then, in front of the squirrel girl, he activated the exorcism ritual on it. A white light flashed. Wow, why does a normal little card emit light? How did you do that? The squirrel girl stood in place, looking surprised, even bringing her face close to the card to observe. Shu was stunned for a second. Then he finally reacted. After all that, this girl couldn't even meet the lowest standard of being evil. She was the kind that even the system wouldn't bother to take a second look at. Tisk. You little loser. You're the loser. I just defeated you. The squirrel girl crossed her arms, unwilling to accept it. Fine. Then you're an invincible little loser who never loses a battle. The squirrel girl suddenly became confused. Was he praising me? Or was he insulting me? The key point is, he said I'm invincible. The squirrel girl immediately caught onto the key point, and immediately smiled happily, approaching Shu. I figured it out. Although you don't look like a good person, and you're always up to no good, and you're mean and have a bad temper. But, Shu knew that there would definitely be a turning point next. It's possible that he's about to receive his first good person card in Marvel. No, but I've already concluded that you are a big villain, no doubt about it. Although she said that Chu Shu was a bad person, Squirrel's sister did not use her invincible Marvel superpower. Instead, she followed behind Chu Shu like a sidekick. Big villain. Why did you attack those kids just now? First of all, I'm not a bad person. Secondly, I came here for. Snap. Where did they go? On the street outside the park, a girl in her teens was running for her life. Tiamu. Ceci. Help me. Detecting that the water spirit had run into a crowded area, Chu Shu fell silent for a moment. His gaze slowly fell on Squirrel's sister. What do you want to do? Squirrel's sister immediately hugged herself, sensing a strong malice. Little squirrel, you just called me a big villain, right? Yeah, what's wrong? Ah. As soon as Squirrel's sister finished speaking, she let out a scream. Moments later. Transfer one person's hatred onto another. Reflect the mistakes made by the other person into dreams. Rot Chu Shu hummed a song. Satisfied, he clapped his hands. I'm sorry, Doran misunderstood you. You're not a bad person, really, sniffle. Squirrel's sister covered her bottom, tears the size of beans streaming down her face. And while crying, she apologized to Chu Shu. It's okay, I forgive you. Chu Shu didn't continue to trouble Squirrel's sister. The urgent task now was to figure out when Squirrel's sister came here. And from which universe did she come? But these questions. Squirrel's sister had no idea about any of them. The only thing she remembered was when she went out to buy groceries, she happened to encounter Thanos invading, and she defeated him, captured him, and handed him over to the police. Thanos. Police. Chu Shu was already too exhausted to comment. Fortunately, Squirrel Girl's actual combat ability is trash. Even if she can't be sent back, she doesn't have the ability to cause as much destruction as Gel, right? Come with me. Chu Shu decided to hand Squirrel Girl over to the Ancient One. By the way, let's see if this guy's concept of invincible in battle ability can also beat up the Ancient One. Hee. I am truly an outstanding young person who respects the elderly and loves the young. Just as Chu Shu was returning to the holy place in New York with Squirrel Girl. On the other side of the earth, in a deserted town that was built in the 70s and 80s and has long been abandoned. Boom. A sudden explosion caused by magical energy rang out. Immediately after, a figure stumbled and appeared in a sorry state. As if fleeing from someone's pursuit. Hello. My name is Kisilius. I used to be a follower of Dormammu. Now I am being chased by a mad dog named Strange. The problem is, I didn't provoke you. Kisilius was almost in tears. Just a while ago, he suddenly lost his connection to the dark dimension. His connection with Dormammu was also severed. Without Dormammu and the sustaining power of the dark forces, the organization of traitors under Kisilius immediately fell apart, and chaos ensued. Troubles never come singly. Just when Kisilius was facing the most difficult time in his life, Strange appeared. This guy who claimed to be the new Sorcerer Supreme was chasing Kisilius like a mad dog, without regard for his own life. Kisilius was at a loss for words. He could only keep calling out to Dormammu. But all he received in response was silence. Dormammu. Don't cue me, I won't come to this broken place on Earth again.